Hi, it's Scott from the Family Mortgage team. What if I could show you a way where your client could make an offer with no financing or appraisal contingency and do it with confidence? You see, we have an approach that's a data-driven educational process that we put every single client through to ensure they have that confidence and are ready to seize the opportunity that's in front of them. When I say seize the opportunity, what I mean is there are a lot of people right now that are saying, you know what? I'm just looking at rates going up and values going up, and I'm just not comfortable that it's a good time to buy right now. And in our opinion, there's a 6 to 9 month window right now where they should take advantage and get their foot in the door, because there's not going to be 20 offers being made on a property. There might only be five offers being made on a property. So we're going to show you part of that presentation that we put them through to give them that confidence. And I'm going to switch over to my screen real quick and walk you through that. So the first is based on a platform that we invested in called the Art of Homeownership. Basically, this has two main components to it. The first is a deep dive and an educational process that we put them through on the front end that's much more comprehensive than others do. But the second, which is much more important, is ensuring they are successful homeowners over the next 30 years by creating as much wealth as they can. We give them some tools that we can go over with you that ensure that they get to that point. So buyers are scared, right? The market feels like it's moving too fast. We're pushing them out of their comfort zone. They need to see data to be empowered and make sure that they're not making an emotional decision. If you're wondering why your buyers aren't excited and motivated to buy a home, it's because of the media, right? Interest rates are skyrocketing, values are plummeting, right? Inventory spiking. I mean, all this in the last 2 weeks. It's unbelievable. So people are rightfully so kind of freaked out, right? So our solution to that is to bulletproof your buyer. And we do that through four main components: comprehensive upfront market analysis, addressing the psychology of the buyer situation, an appraisal gap strategy that I think you'll find unique when we take you through it, and a certified home buyer to ensure that they do not have to have a financing contingency. And we'll walk you through that as well. Addressing the psychology of the buyer situation. Clients know they can do something. They may have been pre-approved. They know they can qualify. But our job is to remove the fear and uncertainty and replace it with education, confidence, and motivation. So this is the first slide we kind of walk them through in our, it's not the first, but one of many slides we walk them through in our presentation. And this has to do with U.S. housing starts. It looks at what builders were doing over the last, since 1977. But you can see economists believe that to meet the demand that's out there on an annual basis, builders have to build about 1.5 million units, right? Well, back in 06, 07, they got up to 2.5 million units, which was way more than they should have been building. And hence we had a crash, which there were a lot of other factors involved, obviously, but you can see builders have been clawing their way back over 14 years just to get back to where they're meeting that demand. It literally just happened in the first quarter of this year. But in the meantime, there's this huge gap over the last 14 years that economists estimate to be about 4 million units that we were short of meeting that demand, which is the large part of the reason why we've got the supply problem. And quite frankly, it isn't going away anytime soon because builders, can't get people to work. They got supply chain issues, land costs are high, so it's not like they're going to be able to just turn the faucet on. Next, I wanted to take you through a NOW report that just came out at the end of April, which is pretty timely. And it goes through some slides here. U.S. housing inventory. This includes pending sales. The media would like you to think that inventory is spiking, right? So it is up 180 from February low. But what they don't tell you is it's seasonal, right? Every spring buying season, you have a lot of people putting their house on the market because they're making a move, except for the COVID years. And even last year, it's the same thing. So this is not anything out of the ordinary, right? Active listings, this does not include pending sales. You can see that's only up 33,000 from February, so there's not much of an increase there, but the same thing, it is seasonal, right? You've got more people listing their houses in the spring. This next slide is pretty neat. It talks about in 2016, just using that as kind of a comparison. He had active listings of 1.55 million, inventory at 2.11. This includes pending sales, which left an available percentage of 73%. What that means is that if you do the math, 27% of all the existing inventory composed of pending sales, right? Fast forward to 2022, obviously you got half as much of inventory out there, right? But what's striking is this figure here, an available percentage. Do the math on this, 60% of the homes in this existing inventory are under contract, right? So as more inventory comes to the market, it's getting gobbled up way quicker than it has in the past. And this led the chief economist for NAR to summarize this report by saying home prices in the meantime appear in no danger of any meaningful decline. He continued, there is an ongoing housing shortage and properly listed homes are still selling swiftly, generally seeing a contract signed within a month. With mortgage rates rising, Young forecasts existing home sales to wane by 9% in 2022 and home price appreciation to moderate to 5% by year's end. This is the key, home price appreciation to moderate, right? So the media would want you to think that prices are declining. What they're saying, what's really happening is instead of a 20% year-over-year gain in the Atlanta market, which we had in April, he's expecting this to moderate to 5% by year's end, where a lot of people believe that it's going to be somewhere in the 5 to 10% range. On the demand side, you've got all showings crushing pre-pandemic levels, right? You had everything kind of moving along 17, 18, 19, and then all of a sudden in 2020 it went off the charts, right? People are just out there looking for houses in droves. This U.S. housing burst, this is a large part of the reason why we're going to continue to have really strong demand going forward. So the average first-time home buyer is 33 years old. If you look back at 2006 and you went back 33 years, you were in 1973. That was the year that Roe v. Wade passed. And subsequently, you had a decline in birth rates, rather significant, right? Right when builders were building 2.5 million units, the demand was being depressed. So it was kind of a formula for disaster. But fast forward to today, a 33-year-old, if you went back 33 years, you're in 1989, which started a millennial birth rate spike that is really going to be rather significant over the next 4 years. And then it just levels off. So the next 20 years, you're going to continue to see really strong demand from first-time home buyers. At the same time, we've got really strong underwriting guidelines, right? Back in 06, 07, you had these crazy products where you could get 100% financing. You didn't have to have good credit. It was just not a good formula. Now, fast forward, underwriting standards much stricter. You can see the reasonable lending standard here. The point being that buyers are really in solid position. And even if they ran into trouble, real trouble, they still got two solutions. One is, they've got a solution, which is to sell their home instead of, waiting for it to go to foreclosure or short sale. So the point being that you're not going to see this wave of foreclosures and short sales like you saw in 07, 08. It's just not going to happen. There's too much equity out there. So what does this mean? Just the opposite of 07 and 08 when we had too much supply and not enough demand. Now we have increased demand and getting stronger in limited supply that's not going to be filled anytime soon. Now I want to show you something we take first-time home buyers through because it's really important that they see this. It's a rent versus buy comparison, and we do a deep dive up front with them, like I said, and we get all the pertinent information, how much they're paying in rent, In this case, this is a real live example of a person that was buying in Athens, Georgia. Clark County, Georgia, we just assumed, we plugged this in, 4% rental increase going forward. And by the way, we did the same for the appreciation rate. You can see down here, forecasted appreciation, 4%. When in Clark County last year, the appreciation for rent was 13.8%. So this is likely going to be more like 5 to 10% going forward for the foreseeable future, but we only use 4% to be conservative. And you plug in all the criteria, how much he's purchasing for, how much he's putting down for the loan, and all that good stuff. We look at it over a 5-year period, and then we come back down to this, comparing what it would cost her to buy right now, right, versus rent. And she was living with her sister, so she was really paying a lot less rent than she probably would have been. But in this case, her payment was going to go up over $400 a month, which was very scary because she was a school teacher. And that cash flow wise, this is going to be a $16,000 increase over the next 5 years in her monthly cash flow. But what you need to focus on, what we focus them on, is that your appreciation over that, just using 4% over that 5-year period, is going to be almost $52,000. Plus, you're going to pay the loan down $21,000. So if you add those two and subtract the $16,000, she's still going to be $51,000 better off buying that home over a 5-year period. And look what happens over 10 years. She's going to be $140,000 better off. Now, if we have a buyer that is a move-up buyer, we're going to take them through an equity analysis plan and show them how to use that equity in the most advantageous way. Next thing I want to show you is an appraisal gap strategy. A lot of people have never seen this before. So this works really well. Really, it needs to be with somebody that's 20% down for a down payment. So if you had a $450 purchase price in this example, you put 20% down, you're at $90,000. You had closing costs and taxes and insurance. You're putting out of pocket $101,500. Now let's assume that the appraisal comes in $40,000 less. Okay. What we would suggest to the client, what we're going to do to educate them up front, if this happens, is that we would just flip this loan to a 10% down loan. Right, so they're only putting 10% down, so $41,000 in this example. The loan would be a little bit higher, $369 instead of $360. But you say, well, they're going to have mortgage insurance. But there's a way around that by paying an upfront mortgage insurance premium to eliminate the need for it on a monthly basis. And you do that as an additional cost, and it's an additional closing cost, so to speak, that, in terms of money up front out of your pocket. But even with that, you're still going to be $6,000 less out of pocket. But look at the monthly payment. It's only $40 higher because the interest rate doesn't change, right? The only difference here is that they're borrowing $9,000 more in this example. So this is a way where we can waive the appraisal contingency if everybody's on board with it. Certified home buyer, we do a complete underwrite of your client, so much so that we do not need a financing contingency. And we will guarantee the seller that if we don't close this loan because of something that the mistake our underwriters made, we'll pay the seller out of our pocket $5,000. I don't know of anybody else in Atlanta market doing that. So in summary, this supply and demand problem is not going to go away anytime soon. It may translate into a less robust market, but therein lies the opportunity. If you have any clients that are talking about going to the sidelines or putting things on pause, these are the exact clients that we want to have in our orbit so that we can educate them and give them a plan going forward. If you have any questions, please let us know, and we appreciate you watching.